What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. We are going to have some fish catches and stuff like that, but I want to talk to you about my hard jerkbait setup. The other day I was out fishing and I caught some fish throwing the Provoke 106X jerkbait. Really good jerkbait. I like the oval split ring on there. I think it makes a difference. The Ghost Sexified Shad is by far my favorite color. But today I want to talk to you guys about what I was doing to catch those fish, some things that you guys need to pay attention to catch more jerkbait fish, and I'm going to let you know the equipment that I was using so that way you can go out and get similar equipment so that way you know you're set up correctly to catch more fish throwing jerkbaits. So one of the first things you guys need to pay attention to is what depth your jerkbait's getting down to. Some of that can be determined by what size line you're pairing up with your jerkbaits, and we'll go into more on that here in a minute. But picking the right jerkbait for where you're fishing. Where I'm fishing here, a lot of steep banks, a lot of submerged brush that comes up off the bottom, and this jerkbait getting down to the 6 foot range is actually really good depth, because a lot of times there's a mud line that gets created where I'm fishing here today, and this jerkbait will get right underneath that mud line but above those trees, and those fish that are kind of sitting there in that mud line or right at the top of those trees will come up and grab the jerkbait. And that's what I think they were doing the other day when I was fishing this, is I think that they were just kind of sitting in some of that submerged brush that was still relatively shallow. They might have been suspended in those trees around that 8 to 10 foot range, and they saw this jerkbait coming by and they came up and grabbed it, and they were some above average fish. They were quality fish. I think there's some stuff that you can take into consideration when it comes to equipment that's going to help you put better fish in the boat or more fish in the boat, and a lot of times more bites gives you a better opportunity to get a big bite. It's just, you know, you get more chances because you never know, you might get some small fish and then boom, you get a big one. You get a couple more small ones and then boom, you get a big one. So sometimes just getting more bites gives you a higher probability of getting a better quality fish. And I think some things with the jerkbait that can really determine how many bites you're going to be getting is rod and line. You want to make sure you have the right type of rod. You don't want one that's super stiff. You don't want one with a ton of power, but you do want one that has a little bit of backbone in it, because you do need to get those hooks into those fish. There's a ton of these hooks down there, but you still need a little bit of backbone in order to really drive those hooks home. But you need a nice light tip to help this jerkbait give the amount of action that it's supposed to have. You want that light tip so that way when you go to jerk this thing, you have the ability to really give it that erratic action that you're looking for, and that's all in the rod. If you have too stiff of a rod, you're going to be dragging that jerkbait through the water rather than jerking it, where it's going to give it that nice erratic back and forth motion. If you have that too stiff a rod, it's just going to drag it. It's just going to drag it instead of really being darting back and forth like you want. So pair it up with a good quality rod. There's one. There we go. Dude, it ate it right away. Ate it right away, like casted that thing out like first crank. There we go. Littler guy this time.
Casting at all the right spots.
Little guy, but still fun on the jerkbait. What I was using is the 7'2" medium action 6 cent sensory rod. I really like this rod for jerkbaits. It's great to throw lighter Texas rig. It's great to pitch a drop shot around as well if you want to do it on a casting rod or something. This rod's super light. You can also throw some top water baits like a 6 cents Dogma or something like that, a pop bait. Great all-around rod for that kind of stuff. You can do a ton of stuff with this rod, but I've found that one of my favorite things to do with it is actually to throw a jerkbait. It pairs up great with this small Daiwa Tatula SVTW. This is the 7.1 to 1 gear ratio bait casting reel, and I think with the jerkbait you want to go with a little bit faster gear ratio, because when you are jerking that thing, you're pulling slack into that line. So if you do get a bite, having that a little bit faster gear ratio is going to help you catch up to that fish and then get those hooks in there when you go to set the hook. But I think that one of the other important things outside of the rod and the reel is your line. Line is super important when it comes to the jerkbait. Having the right size line, or not having too heavy of a line, is the key. I was throwing 10-pound test fluorocarbon when I was out here catching some fish on the jerkbait, and I think 10-pound, generally speaking, is about as heavy as you want to go. You can go up to 12 if you need to get that bait to run a little bit shallower, or if you're around really thick cover. But I think 10-pound test is about the ideal. I think going down to 8, even 6 if you're fishing on a spinning rod or something like that can also be really important. I was listening to Randy Blockett on a jerkbait video the other day talking about fishing a jerkbait on a spinning rod with 6-8 pound test. And I think 10-pound is also the lightest that you're going to want to go on a casting reel, because a lot of times when you go down in line size, it starts to get a little bit more difficult to cast the bait caster with that light line. You end up getting a lot of backlashes and stuff like that. So I think 10-pound is about as light as you want to go with the bait caster. There's one.
Nice.
Another jerkbait today, man.
3 on the jerkbait today, huh?
Yeah. Another good one, dude. Good one.
Nice.
I don't know how to get him. There we go.
Nice.
There we go, solid jerkbait fish right there. I'll take that. That's pretty fun too. Let's put him back in the water. So a couple things I think you guys need to pay attention to when you're fishing the jerkbait is the cadence. The cadence is very key. And what I mean by the cadence is how many jerks you do, how long your pauses are. Do you do jerk, jerk, pause, jerk, pause, jerk, jerk, pause, jerk, pause, jerk, jerk, pause, jerk, pause. You can do those different cadences, or jerk, pause, jerk, pause, jerk, pause. Different amounts of jerks, different length pauses. Those are all things that you got to pay attention to. And in some of these clips that I'm showing throughout this video, you might have heard me talking about, I don't even remember what the cadence was because I wasn't paying attention, because literally like my third cast the other day, I was out fishing and my third cast I got bit. And I didn't know if it was a long pause in the beginning, a long pause between, maybe I was working it fast because I hadn't been paying attention. And when you're fishing a jerkbait, you got to pay attention to that stuff, because the more you can replicate that cadence, the more bites you're going to get, because once you figure out that pattern, you're going to be able to get more fish in the boat, because you can keep going around and fishing that same cadence. And then obviously if they stop biting it, then start doing a different cadence. Maybe you need to do longer pauses, maybe you need to work it faster, maybe you need to change colors. There's all kinds of different variables when it comes to the jerkbait. But I think that the cadence is something that's very imperative and something that you really need to pay attention to, so that way you can replicate it and do the most that you can in order to get more fish in the boat and get more bites. What's on there?
Huh?
What do you got on?
A little fluke, light fluke. Back me over there.
There's one. Yep, I got one.
You got one?
Yeah. Jerkbait. That's cool. You got a fish on. There you go. Out in the boat. Ooh, a little chunky one. There we go. There we go.
That was quick.
Not bad. 6-inch jerkbait. Provoke 106X. There we go. Alright.
Yeah, is that the third cast or something?
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video talking about jerkbaits. A jerkbait's a really fun way to catch some fish. It can put quality fish in the boat, just like Hank Cherry when he won the Bassmaster Classic this year. You know, a jerkbait isn't the bait that you would think is going to go out and win the Bassmaster Classic, but when that jerkbait bite is on, it's one of the funnest ways that you can catch fish. You got some lighter line, you got a little bit lighter rod, so you're gonna have to play those fish. You're actually gonna have to fight them. You might get that drag to go, so you need to make sure all that stuff is set up appropriately, and you wanna make sure that you get all those fish in the boat, because a lot of times the fishing's tough when you're getting those jerkbait fish on. Maybe they're not eating anything else. Maybe they're lethargic and you really gotta get them to eat this thing. So sometimes bites are coming out of premium, so you need to make sure that all your equipment is set up appropriately in order to make sure you get those fish in the boat. But I hope you guys enjoyed learning about the jerkbait today. I hope some stuff that I said in here was helpful for you. It's gonna help you catch more fish. And as always, all the stuff that I talked about in today's video are gonna be linked down in the description of today's video. So if you wanna get anything, make sure to click those links. Look for the discount codes that are in the description as well. And I think if you get some equipment like I'm telling you guys, you're gonna be able to fish this thing, get more bites than maybe you have in the past, because the equipment does matter, and pairing everything up appropriately is going to make a difference in how many bites you get and how many fish you're going to put in the boat. So again, thank you guys for watching today's video. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. If you have any questions or anything like that, make sure to leave a question down in the comment section and I'll be sure to answer it. If you want to just say hi, that's cool too. And if you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.